The Treaty of San Francisco is a part of a complicated historical story about what Taiwan is today. But it's only one chapter in what I think we need to think of as a much larger and complicated tapestry of historical events. I'm a lawyer, so I like to think that international law and treaties matter, and they do. And this was, in fact, a treaty. And what was important in it was that Japan renounced its claim to Formosa, to Taiwan, which it had taken in 1895 under the Treaty of Shimonoseki. But of course, the big question was, just because Japan was saying it was renouncing, it didn't make clear to whom or to what entity Formosa was being handed. And that has been part of the legacy of the question about what Taiwan is today, now 70 years later.
When people talk about the undetermined status of Taiwan's sovereignty, they often start with the Treaty of San Francisco. But in reality, it's only one part of a complicated legal framework that Taiwan exists in today. So what are the other sources that we should turn to inform how we see Taiwan and its status in the world?
The Treaty of San Francisco is neither the starting nor the ending point when we talk about the status of Taiwan. It's an important historical point, this idea that it was Japan formally saying it was renouncing its claim to Taiwan. Of course, where did it go is the big question. But if we look before that, as World War II was coming to a close, we already saw in Cairo and Potsdam, this moving away from having Japan with its control over Taiwan and the questions coming up of where would it go. And of course, after the Treaty of San Francisco, we had the Treaty of Taipei, this peace treaty, which also further made clear that Taiwan was not in the hands of Japan, but did not solidify what it belonged to. And this whole time, too, we have then the PRC, People's Republic of China, which was established in 1949, claiming continuously now this one China principle that Taiwan is a part of China and that China being the PRC, and that the Republic of China, the ROC, had no ability at that point after World War II and after the establishment then of the PRC to engage in these treaties. So as an international law professor, I think that it's important to look at these historical documents, but I also think that we need to recognize that it's been 70 years since the Treaty of San Francisco, and a lot has happened in international law sense. When we think about the post-World War II time and decolonization and people who previously had been under the rule of an external power being able to determine their future, when we think about the right to self-determination and what it means to have an increasing Taiwanese identity and what rights should be inherent in people deciding their own leadership, their own future, is really important.